OACPP Solutions, a leader in secure document printing and a privileged partner in digital transformation, is proud to bring its official support to the group of SIDS Leaders Conference.
I want to put this question now to the whole panel, so please, whoever wants to answer, please join in. I don't really want to be in the position where I have to nominate someone to answer the question, but look, there is this sense of collectivity, strength in numbers. We know that the EU, the OACPS members, they represent over 1.5 billion people and over half the UN membership. Given that, how will the reality of those numbers influence the post-COVID narrative to the benefit of those citizens? Because what we're all agreed on is that we've reached a turning point now, that perhaps too many people have been excluded from conversations, but that can no longer continue as a status quo. Who would like to tackle that, the reality of those numbers influencing the post-COVID-19 narrative?
I'd be very happy to start because the Commonwealth is 1/3 of the world. We've got 2.4 billion people, and we are encompassing 5 regions. And I think one of the things that has really come to the fore is we need a new infrastructure to respond to the reality of this very complex intersection that we now have between climate, between economy, and between health. And this has never been stronger. So I think this is why you've heard so much discussion about the need for a multi-dimensional vulnerability index. If we look at climate, when a country is devastated by a climate incident, it doesn't care whether you're middle income, high income, low income. You can go from a high income country to a no income country like that. So I think we do have to have a new construct, and this is why the Commonwealth has been working with all our partners as hard as we can to deliver this new multi-dimensional vulnerability index, which looks at the exogenous shocks to which we're all subject. The days when we're just going to look at whether we are fiscally prudent have gone. This fiscal prudence is there, but it doesn't help you with everything else. So I think one of the major things we have to do, and we have to come as a global community together on, is to look at the multidimensional nature of the resilience that we need and the vulnerability. So I think it's a huge issue for us, but coming together for implementation. We've done so much about talking. So if you look at what we're doing, living hands with this is where we go.
Would anyone else like to add to that at all?
Maybe just one word, if I may, to say that we try, of course, to work to develop the multilateral approach. Sometimes it's very difficult. I want to insist on the fact that we have had many discussions, activities, and many works in the last months at the EU level to manage the Brexit. It was a pity, of course, to see one of our member states going out of the European Union. And now we try to re-engage in a common approach with our colleagues from UK, but it's not easy, of course, and it was maybe a difficult moment, not only for the EU, but for also the evolution at the multilateral level, because we have had many activities again to organize and to manage it. But when we try now to have an influence in the UN or in other kind of international organizations, we need to define some priorities. When we discuss, to be concrete, about climate change, about environmental issues, maybe with the SIDS, it's important to discuss about the blue economy, to discuss about the marine biodiversity, and to say it's possible for the EU and for the partners in the SIDS to have common approach. And we have tried to do that in the last years already, to define real priorities. Because today in the panel, it was very pleased to see that we have discussed about a lot of things, of course, and a global approach on all the different issues. And of course, we are working together on the rule of law, on different kind of element of governance in the fight for gender equality. And I don't want to repeat what was said, but we need also to say, what are our priorities for the next years in a common approach in some organization? It's a sort of strategy, in fact. And again, the blue economy and the marine biodiversity are maybe 2 very important issues to build a new world with a sustainable economy in the future. And so I will be very pleased to see how it's possible to engage on this with the partners in the SIDS. And because, again, with the number of partners, it's possible to have a real influence in the UN, and not only in the UN, maybe in other international organizations.
Okay, that's fantastic. And would anyone else like to address those points raised in that answer before I move on to another question which has come to us?
If I may, Juliet,
please do.
Just really seized by the comments by the Commissioner and Secretary General Scotland. And I think in 2021, you know, we have a number of really important multilateral meetings. We have the COP26, COP15 for a post-2020 global biodiversity framework, and then the United Nations Food System Summit. I just mention these because I feel that one of the central principles of the new agreement between the OACPS and the EU is about multilateral engagement with our international partners. And so we definitely do look forward to working closely with international partners in these important settings. And I think noting these numbers, of course, 38 small island developing states of the OACPS, 79 OACPS member states, partnering with 27 EU partners, and then of course the wider membership of the Commonwealth. And I think that we've really got to start to think about how we engage from a very early stage on some of these important initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How does the panel see the role of micro and small businesses being more involved in these issues, given that they make up 99% of SIDS businesses? So that's from the International Trade Centre. Who would like to tackle that question first? And again, please, if anybody else wishes to add to something, go ahead.
As you know, for the majority of our member states, their businesses are small and medium-sized businesses. So we've launched a whole network for SMEs and a new connectivity agenda. And we have to understand that if we don't support micro, small and medium-sized businesses, we're not really supporting SIDS. So if you look at the 32 small states that we have, they are dominated by small and medium-sized enterprises. So I think it's a really wonderful opportunity for us to work on this issue, not just with the EU and the OACP and the UN, but we have to do it in a way that's very practical. And I would certainly invite people to look at what we've done with the connectivity agenda, because we are putting very practical tools into the hands of our member states. And we're looking, for instance, if we can create an app, because most of our countries are governed by a similar law. And as a result, we can accelerate by sharing best practice, but also sharing with our member states what doesn't work and what we need to do to support it. So I'd be very keen to work with the EU and others on this, because as was just said by the Commissioner, we have to focus on practical, implementable things. And the blue economy is a huge issue. Good for women, because there's a lot of women involved in that blue economy, and we can do practical things to make it better.
Okay, Didier, would you like to respond to that?
But maybe just to say two elements. First of all, also in the EU, you know that the majority of the companies are in fact very small companies, and we are working with them. And so the first priority that we have is to take into account the specificity of the very small companies when we are discussing on different regulation. I will come, I said, with a new initiative about the sustainable corporate governance. But of course, it's impossible to ask the same requirement, to put the same requirements on the shoulders of very small companies and on the shoulder of very large companies. But we need to go in the same direction. So it's very important to provide some technical assistance, to provide some funding, to be able in very small companies to do the same, or to go in the same direction about the sustainable economy, and to have an analysis about the possible negative impact of their operations or the possible risks for the environment, climate change or biodiversity, but also the different risks about human rights or about a social situation. But that's the first element. The second element, of course, is how it's possible to finance the development of very small companies. And you know, in some years ago, it was the very good trend to organize microfinancing of very small companies. For now, we have some experience in this. And so it's very useful maybe to exchange the best practices in the way that we have managed the microfinancing in the last years, because it was with some success, it was also with some mistakes. We need to explain that, but we need to continue. So first, to organize the regulations with a specific attention to the very small companies and not only to the SMEs in general, and then to see how it's possible to develop the best solutions for microfinancing, taking into account the lessons learned in the past. Je voudrais simplement dire, parce que nous en avons parlé souvent dans des contacts précédents au Maroc, je vois monsieur l'ambassadeur présent, je voudrais dire que c'est une expérience que on pourrait d'ailleurs, au départ des échanges qui ont été faits entre l'Union européenne et des pays d'Afrique, et notamment avec le Maroc, partager avec d'autres. Parce qu'il y a eu beaucoup d'efforts en matière de financement à l'échelon des toutes petites entreprises, et au Maroc comme ailleurs d'ailleurs, avec des succès réels dans le développement d'activités, avec aussi parfois des dérives. Et donc il faut pouvoir échanger pour bien situer les meilleures pratiques que l'on a mises en avant.
Okay, thank you very much. Baroness Scotland, I'm going to put it to you, but I'm also going to leave the way open for other people to respond, because what has emerged is that SIDS do require special case funding because of their size. They have small populations, limited resources. They are environmentally vulnerable. They face more natural hazards perhaps than other countries, and also as well, they are remote from the international market. So given all of those factors, how does the post-Cotonou agreement actually address these specifics within the framework of this revised deal?
Well, I think this is a genuine opportunity and an attempt to come together in committee to say we have to start a new structure. And I think all of us are applauding that, celebrating it. It took a long time to negotiate, and we praise God for it. However, it will be meaningless unless we give it teeth and we create an implementable structure which says, and this is the difference it is going to make. And I think that's what's been so important by this discussion, because we've all been talking about what practical things can we do together to pool the information, the expertise, so that we can put it into the hands of those who need it. And that's why we have to think about the tools we have to create. And you'll hear us banging the drum on this multi-dimensional, multifaceted vulnerability index. And this is not something that's just come today. I have had this sounding in my head for about the last 30 years, where small states have been saying, see us, look at us, understand the reality of our lives, and understand that we are subject to these things which are not of our making. If you look at the pandemic, it was not of the making of the small states. If you look at climate change, it was not of the making of the small states. If you look at the economic devastation that has come as a result of the intersection between those two, you cannot say it was the fault of the small states. They failed to do that which they should properly have done to make a difference. And knowing that, then we have as a global community to say, what are we going to do about it? 32 of our member states are small, and many of them face an existential threat, not just an ordinary threat, but a threat which says, I will not be here tomorrow. So I think for us, it is no more about talking, and I celebrate and I praise and I thank everyone who's made the Cotonou agreement possible, because, you know, we were just holding on thinking, please let this happen. So we can celebrate that. But now it's down to us. Now we have to put flesh on the bone. We have to look at the strategic plans. We've got to look at the implementation possibilities. And the great thing is we do have that possibility. We have an opportunity to create a truly sustainable market, to reset this whole situation. But we haven't just to will it, we have to actually do it. And therefore, if you look at everything that the Commonwealth Secretariat are doing, is we're creating the toolkits, the implementation strategies, and we're reaching out to all our partners to say, please help us. Let's not concentrate on the things we disagree on. Let's concentrate on the things that we agree on. A bit like our humanity, 99% of our DNA is in common. but we tend to concentrate on that 0.1%, which makes us different and fascinating. But let's value that 0.1%, but let's join together on the 99.9%, which makes us human. And I think we have to be really frank. Cotonou is in part about fighting for the survival of humanity. And I wish it wasn't as dramatic as that, but it is. So I think we've never had a more important time. I'm thanking everybody who made this possible. I think you are heroes and heroines. Now let's deliver.
Thank you very much.
Je voudrais tout simplement dire que cette crise de Covid va donner naissance à un nouveau monde, à une nouvelle réalité. La gestion internationale de Covid a montré une chose, c'est que le système multilatéral n'a pas été très performant. Nous avons beaucoup de difficultés à gérer cette crise et nous avons vu malheureusement des comportements de beaucoup d'acteurs internationaux qui manquent d'humanisme, qui manquent de solidarité. C'est très émouvant de vous entendre, honorable Patricia Scotland, dans ces derniers mots. Et je crois qu'il est important que l'Union européenne, que le commissaire Didier Reynderds, très attaché aux valeurs de droit, de solidarité, de multilatéralisme, d'explorer une nouvelle forme du multilatéralisme en faisant participer la société civile, le monde économique, les jeunes, les femmes. Il faut qu'on construise un monde plus solidaire, un monde plus responsable. Et dans le modeste effort que fournit le Maroc pour jouer un rôle solidaire avec ses frères, quand il y a la volonté politique, nous pouvons faire beaucoup, énormément de choses. J'ai eu l'honneur de suivre ce que mon pays a fait avec beaucoup d'États insulaires, avec peu de moyens. Il y a un message à envoyer. C'est cette solidarité internationale qu'on doit construire pour vivre dans le monde plus humain, plus solidaire.
Bravo, mon frère. C'est vraiment, il y a les possibilités.
Merci.
Merci.
Thank you so much, Excellency. And thank you, in fact, to all of our panel. I said it was going to be a thought-provoking, stimulating, lively discussion, and it has been that. It's a chance for all of us to get together to make the words meaningful. As I stated in my introduction, COVID-19 has created tragedy, but out of that tragedy, there is an opportunity to work together to construct a roadmap from which all of us will benefit, with humanity speaking in one voice. Thank you so much for your time, those who have been part of this really fascinating panel, and all of you who joined us online. We appreciate your presence. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all sometime in the not too distant future. Take care. Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir. Have a good day.
AUAJJAR Solutions, leader in secure document printing and a privileged partner in digital transformation, was proud to bring its official support to the group of SIDS Leaders Conference.